Have you already learned the benefits of Jetpack Compose but aren't sure where to get started with converting your view-based app to Compose? I'm Arriola, a developer relations engineer on the Android team, and in this talk, I'll answer that question by showing you how you can migrate. So, you have an existing view-based app and you want to convert it to Compose. But of course, you don't want to stop building new features just to make this migration. The good news is Compose was designed with view interoperability right from the start. So you can make this migration while still adding new features to your app. Here's an overview of the strategy that you can take. First, start your adoption of Compose by building new features in Compose. This way, the features you build take advantage of the benefits of Compose. While building features in Compose, you want to identify which components can be reused in other parts of your app, and then start building a library of common UI elements. And lastly, continue your migration by replacing existing screens to Compose one screen at a time. These steps don't necessarily have to happen in sequence. Depending on your team size and your app size, these can all happen in parallel. So let's dive into the first step, which is to adopt Compose and new features you introduce in your app. This approach to migrating allows you to modernize your app while still addressing business needs by being able to add new features. If your feature takes up an entire screen, you would still be working under the constraints of your app's architecture. So if you're using Fragments, you would create a new fragment with its contents in Compose. And if the entire screen is in Compose, you would return a Compose view in the Fragments onCreateView lifecycle method. And then you would provide the fragments composable in the setContent method of the Compose view. If the new feature you're adding is part of an existing screen, on the other hand, you would add a Compose view to the view hierarchy just like any other view. And if you have multiple Compose views in the hierarchy, you want to make sure that you have unique IDs so state is preserved across configuration changes. So as you're building new features, you'll probably realize you're reusing a lot of components. So to encourage reusability, consider creating a module of common UI components in your app. This would be a great opportunity to work with a designer in your team to help identify what those components are. Think buttons, app bars, chips, and so on. This technique is especially useful if you're building a custom design system for your app. Try to also find complex UI components that can be reused, like dialogues, cards, and so on. The features you build can then depend on this component library, which allows you to style and change the look and feel of your app's components all in one place. The last stage in your migration is to incrementally migrate existing features one screen at a time. Note that it's also best practice to rely on UI testing while migrating existing screens to ensure you're not introducing regressions during migration. So how do you go about migrating existing screens? A good place to start is to try to find simple screens. These are low-hanging fruit, as migrating these screens can be done in a few lines of code in Compose. The next place to look for are mixed screens, so screens that contain a bit of Compose code already. For these screens, you can take the bottom-up approach of migration by piece migrating UI elements until the entire UI tree is in Compose. Keep repeating this process until all your screens are in Compose. Assuming you're using navigation component and all your screens are in Compose, what should you do about fragments? Once all your fragments contents are in Compose, there's really little benefit that fragments give you at that point. So, at that point, once all the contents are in Compose, you can remove fragments entirely and replace them with a corresponding screen-level composable. You can then use Navigation Compose to navigate and pass data between these screen-level composables. If you're ready to get started with migrating to Compose, make sure to check out our documentation, Adopting Compose in Your App, to learn more about implementation details. And if you want to learn more about case studies on different strategies that work for other teams, check out our Adopt Compose for your teams page at this link. Now, you should know where to start. Thank you.